Hi class, for this video we have two separate goals. Goal number one is learn how to use point slope form for an equation, and then the goal number two is to use slope intercept. Okay, so there's our two goals, and what I'd like to do is just use this question right here. In slope intercept form, write the equation of the line that contains the points in the table. I'd like to use this data set to figure out if we can come up with two different equations that are the same from the data set. Alright, so first of all, what we're probably going to want to have is, well, I'm guessing we're going to want to have a definition for point slope and for slope intercept form. Alright, so let's call this PSF, not to be confused with pounds per square foot, but let's call that for point slope form. And point slope form is y minus y1 equals x minus x1, all in parentheses, times m. What this m stands for right here, that is our slope. And then the reason that I did a big Y and a little y and then a big X and a little x is that this X and this Y right here, those two variables are ones that we're not going to put numbers in. So they are no number variables. And then this Y1 and X1, that is pulled from a singular point. So we can say X1, Y1. And what I mean by that, well, let's just roll through this point slope form. What I need specifically is I need to have a slope, and I also need to have a specific point, and then I can come up with my PSF, or point slope form. Okay, so let's first find our slope. So I'm going to grab two random points, and I'm going to take the ones that look easiest to me, and then just like we did earlier in that other video, I'm going to take those 2 points and I'm going to do y1 minus y2 all over x1 minus x2. So in this case, I'm going to do 0 minus 1 divided by 3 minus negative 1, because I just pulled from these 2 points right here. And what I end up with is negative 1 all over 3 minus negative 1. Well, this becomes a plus here, so now I have 4, and that's my slope, negative 1/4. So I got this part figured out, equals negative 1/4. Okay, and then what I'm going to do with, let's say, just another random point, I could either use negative 1/1 or 3/0, or I could use, let's say, this point right here. And that's going to be my y1 and x1. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to say y, and then minus 0.5 equals, so that's this part of the equation, and then in parentheses I'm going to do x minus 0.5, and then that whole thing times my slope m, which is times negative 1/4. Okay, well that's cool and interesting, but I don't really know how I could use that. Here's how you use it. This is the cool thing about this, this format. Let's create ourselves a quick graph. So there's my super fast graph. And what I'm going to do is, instead of looking for a y-intercept, which is what you've done in the past, I'm going to grab this part, in other words, this number and this number. I just realized a mistake here. What I'm going to do is I need to erase this minus 0.5. And what I'm looking for is this value up here for my y's and that value for my x's. So it's going to be x minus 1. Sorry for any confusion. Okay, when I graph this, instead of looking for a y-intercept, I'm just going to take these 2 points. Okay, so I'm going to go to 1 and 0.5. So 1 and then up 0.5. There's that point. And then just from this point, I'm going to use my slope, being negative 1/4. So that means I'm going to go down 1. So I'm going to go from 1/2 to another 1/2 right here, and then over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And my new graph is going to look about like this. Whoops. Right through those dots. That's a very straight line, I'd say. Okay, So there's point-slope form. Next up, let's talk about slope-intercept. Okay, team, now here's the next round with slope-intercept. What I've done is I've kept the information for my slope, and I've kept the graph that I did with point-slope form. So now we're going to do slope-intercept form. So we'll call this SIF, and that's this form right there. And slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. And the couple things that we need to remember is that b is my y-intercept, and m is my slope. Well, good thing for us is we already have the slope figured out, and it would be the same process either way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with y equals, and I'm going to put my slope in there, and that's going to be negative 1/4 x plus b. And then the next step that we're usually going to do with this kind of process is we're going to try and solve b, b being the y-intercept. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a random point. Let's use this one right here because it looks pretty easy. And I'm going to put x and y, in this case 3 and 0, into the y and the x here. Okay, so that means I'm going to have 0 equals, in parentheses, negative 1/4, and then x is going to equal 3. Again, I'm grabbing it from these 2 points right here for this value and this value, plus b. And what we're going to do is we're going to solve for b. So we'll stick like a star thing around this. All right, so that means I'm going to do, oops, and add a plus. Okay. Well, negative 1/4 times 3 is negative 3/4. All right, plus b equals 0. If I want to solve for b, I'm going to have to add 3/4 onto both sides. So I'm going to have 3/4 equals b. And that means that my final form is going to be y equals negative 1/4 plus, or x, plus 3/4. All right, well, let's check this out and see if it graphs just the same as earlier. I'm going to use my y-intercept, and here is 1, so there's there's positive 3/4. And then I'm going to go down 1 and over 4. So down 1 and over 4. Hey, there we go. There's that same line graphed again. All right, you all are officially rock stars in point-slope form and in slope-intercept form.